All right, let's step into the city of Neo Solis. This is a world, a metropolis of enterprise solutions, where keeping things running isn't just a good idea, it's literally the law. Every flicker of a server light, every system slowdown, it's all being watched. Because in this city, the stakes are unbelievably high.
So our story as architect investigators, it doesn't begin at the scene of the crime, not with the smoking server. No, it starts in the hall of the High Council. Because here, technical failures aren't just IT problems, they are legal problems with immediate and really severe consequences. You can feel the pressure in the air. Every single minute of downtime is being measured against the cold, hard letter of the law.
You see, to really understand the chaos that happens down on the streets, we first have to understand the pressure coming from the top, from the High Council. They've set up a series of clocks. And these aren't suggestions, they are ticking, non-negotiable mandates.
The first clock is just relentless. The Monetary Authority of Singapore, the MAS, they demand that any significant incident that hits financial services has to be reported within 60 minutes, 1 hour. Can you just imagine that pressure? Your team is still scrambling, just trying to figure out what is even going on, and a legal clock is already about to run out on you.
Then there's the cybersecurity agency, the CSA. They give you 2 hours. But here's the catch. It's not 2 hours from when you fix it. It's 2 hours from the moment you are simply aware of a breach in what they call Critical Information Infrastructure, CII. And these are the crown jewels, the systems essential for the city's very survival. So the second a frontline warden even suspects something is wrong, a second, even more urgent clock starts ticking away.
And finally, we have the universal clock. The Personal Data Protection Commission, or PDPC, gives you a much bigger window, 30 days. Now this applies to any data breach in any industry. And while 30 days might sound like a luxury, it's not. It demands a deep, forensic investigation into exactly what was lost, which makes that month just as intense as those first few hours.
Okay, but what happens if you miss one of those deadlines? This is where it gets really serious. It's not about the company just writing a check. The council calls this the sovereign penalty. So beyond the fines, which can be up to $100,000, the law imposes something called executive personal liability. Think about that. This means the directors, the leaders of the city, are personally on the hook. This just elevated a tech problem into a full-blown career-on-the-line crisis.
And this brings us to one of the High Council's most important warnings, what they call the third-party trap. You might think, hey, we moved our stuff to the cloud. We've outsourced the risk. Nope, you haven't. The law is crystal clear. That legal duty to report stays with your leadership. It's your responsibility, no matter who actually owns the servers.
Okay, so we've felt the pressure from the council chambers. Now let's head down to the streets and meet the people on the front lines, the wardens. In the middle of the chaos of a failure, their survival, their success, it all depends on using a shared, precise language. They have to know exactly what they're talking about before they can even hope to fix it.
You know, it all starts with an event. An event is that first quiet whisper of trouble. It's not the crisis itself, it's just an observation. It could be a single log entry from a monitoring tool, a sensor reading that's just a little bit off, or a light on a dashboard that just flickers for a second. It's just one data point, a change of state that tells a watchful warden, hey, something's different. And this is where the most crucial distinction is made. The wardens have to separate the incident from the problem. An incident is the fire. It's the unplanned outage that's affecting people. And the goal there is simple: speed. Put the fire out. Get the service back online now. But the problem is the why. It's the faulty wiring in the wall, the real root cause. And for that, the goal isn't speed at all. It's the quality of the investigation, to make sure this fire can never, ever start again.
This right here is the warden's creed. It's the core piece of wisdom in Neo Solis. And it's a fantastic analogy. Think about it. A high number on a thermometer? That's just an event. The horrible, debilitating fever that keeps you in bed. That's the incident. But if all you do is treat the fever with a cold cloth, you're totally ignoring the problem, which is the underlying infection. And without finding and curing that infection, you know for a fact that the fever is coming back.
So, to find that infection, to find that root problem, the wardens and investigators have to become almost like historians. They can't just stare at the wreckage in front of them, they have to go back in time. They have to surgically reconstruct the exact sequence of events that led to everything falling apart. This is where the real forensic work begins.
I mean, just picture it. In the middle of a crisis, you've got alerts firing off everywhere, dozens of people in a chat room, everyone's got a different theory. It's just a mess of finger-pointing and confusion. So how do you cut through that noise? The answer is timeline analysis.
Especially with those high council clocks ticking down, this is the one tool that builds an objective, undeniable sequence of what happened. It forges a single source of truth. So let's just walk through a classic case from the city archives, the data center environmental failure. At 11:25 in the morning, a monitor flags a red light on an AC unit. That's our event. It's just a warning. But 15 minutes later, the consequence hits. The room temperature climbs, and a server disk physically fails. We're still not at the incident yet. The incident happens 5 minutes after that, at 11:45, when the first person calls in and says, "Hey, I can't use the application." This timeline is a perfect map of the domino effect, from one ignored event all the way to a service-killing incident. And that timeline forces another critical decision, one that could determine if the city itself survives. Was this a major incident, or was it a full-blown disaster? A major incident, as bad as it is something you handle with your normal teams and processes. But a disaster is a catastrophe. We're talking a total data center loss, a flood, something that requires you to activate your formal disaster recovery plans. This is all about service continuity management. Is the organization going to make it through this? You absolutely cannot afford to get this call wrong. All right, the timeline is built, we know what happened, and we know when it happened. So now the investigation moves into the interrogation chamber to find the why, to uncover the skeletal truth hiding beneath the failure.
Now, this is the question that just paralyzes most teams, right? It immediately invites blame, people get defensive. But in Neo Solis, they use a specific tool that brilliantly shifts the focus from who did it to what allowed it to happen. Root cause analysis here is not about finding a scapegoat. It's about dissecting the entire system to find the cracks in the foundation.
They use what's called a Fishbone Diagram. So you put the failure at the head of the fish, and then you systematically interrogate the 4 fundamental pillars, the bones, of any system. Was it the hardware, the physical AC unit itself? Was it the software, maybe a bug in the monitoring tool that didn't send the alert correctly? Was it the people? Was there a training gap that meant someone saw the alert but didn't know what to do? Or, finally, was it the process? Was there a faulty escalation rule that sent the alert to the wrong team entirely? This forces you to look at the whole picture, and it gets you way beyond blame to the real actionable cause. So, the root cause has been found, but the work of an architect is never really done. Now the whole focus shifts from being reactive to being proactive. It becomes a quest for a permanent solution to make sure this kind of darkness never comes back. And this quest often leads to identifying what's called a known error. This is a really important concept. A known error is a problem where you've done all the hard work, you've found the root cause, but for some reason, a permanent fix just isn't ready yet. Maybe it costs too much. Maybe it requires a huge architectural change. The point is, it's now a documented, well-understood threat that the city has to learn to live with and manage.
And this is where the frontline wardens get their superpower, the workaround. Now, this isn't just a dirty hack or a temporary patch. In Neo Solis, a well-documented workaround is a strategic weapon. It's a clear, repeatable set of steps that lets you bypass that known error and get the service back up and running.
And the value here is just immense. By building a library of these workarounds, you empower your frontline Tier 1 wardens. So when they see that familiar flicker in the system, they don't have to panic and escalate it up the chain. They can just look it up, apply the known workaround, and resolve the issue in minutes. This saves so much time and money, but maybe more importantly, it reduces the cognitive load on your top-tier experts, freeing them up to actually build new things instead of just fighting the same old fires again and again.
Okay, so our investigation is complete. The problem's understood, a workaround is in place. But to truly finish the cycle, all the lessons that were learned from the chaos have to be forged into permanent institutional knowledge. The city itself must learn and evolve.
The findings from the post-incident review aren't just filed away in some dusty report. No, they're published as a new charter for every single person in Neo Solis. It's a living document, a summary of all that hard-won wisdom. It reinforces the language we use, the processes we follow, and the laws we must obey. It reminds everyone of the stakes, those ticking clocks, and that personal liability. This charter ensures that one team's failure becomes a lesson for the entire city, making the whole system stronger.
And that really brings us to the final question we have to ask ourselves as we leave Neo Solis. Is your organization just stuck in that firefighting loop, treating the same fevers week after week? Are you taking the time to reconstruct the chaos, to find the underlying infection, and to actually learn from the ashes? Because in the end, that is the only way to build a system that is truly built to last.